Hi everyone, this is Kristen from the Learner's Pernet blog, and this is a video tutorial on Judys Magic cast-on. This is my preferred cast-on for toe-up socks, so normally I would use fingering weight yarn and two size 1 24-inch circular needles. For illustrated purposes today, I'm going to be using heavier yarn and larger needles. You'll notice I've got one bamboo needle and one metal, just to help differentiate between the two needle tips while we're knitting. You also notice that I'm using two different lengths, but that's just because I can't find another 24-inch cable. Let's go ahead and get started. You're going to hold both needles in your right hand, one on top of the other, with the tips pointed to the left. Hold them slightly apart. Then you're going to pull off a length of yarn for your cast-on. As with the long tail cast-on, the length depends on the number of stitches. We're just going to do 20 stitches today, so we don't need too much. Wrap the yarn around the top needle. You want the tail end of the yarn to go over and behind the top needle, and the working yarn to come in between the two needle tips. Then you're going to wrap the tail end of the yarn around your index finger and the working yarn around your thumb to form a triangle. You can see that I'm using my ring and pinky fingers to hold the ends of both yarns to maintain tension. You already have one loop on your top needle, and that counts as your first stitch. To make your second stitch, you raise your index finger and wrap the yarn around the bottom needle. Then you twist your hand and bring your thumb up and wrap the yarn around the top needle, bringing it in between both needles. You always want to bring the yarn in between both needle tips. Again, thumb up, yarn around just the top needle and in between. Index finger up, yarn around the bottom needle. We're casting on 20 total stitches, so that means we need 10 on each needle. I'm going to pick up the pace just a little bit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now, when you have 10 stitches on each needle, or whatever number you need, you're going to take the whole thing and very carefully turn it over. Now your needles are pointing to the right. Identify the tail of your yarn here, and you can see the tail is actually forming the last loop on what is now the top needle, so you need to make sure you hold that tight so that top stitch doesn't come undone. And go ahead and pull the bottom needle out as you normally would when knitting on two circular needles. The first set of stitches on your top needle, you're going to knit just as you normally would, making sure you've got that tail held tight so that the first stitch doesn't loosen up. Okay, now the reason I'm basically showing you how to knit here is that we have to do something special when we get to the second needle. So, finish knitting stitches on your first needle as you normally would, and then flip it over. Go ahead and pull that bottom needle out, pull your top needle tight, and now you can see, possibly, that these stitches on the top needle are facing the wrong direction, so that they need to be knit through the back loop. It's easier to see here with the second stitch. You can see that it's not in the correct orientation. So in order to fix that, we're going to knit all of the stitches on the second needle through the back loop. You only need to do this on the first round. After that, you've fixed them, they're all facing the correct direction, and you continue knitting as you normally would. Now I'm sort of going on the assumption here that everyone knows how to knit through the back loop, but just in case, Normally when you're knitting, you come in here through the front. When you knit through the back loop, your needle is facing downward and grabbing the back part of that loop. Okay, now we have all of our stitches correctly oriented. And you can see we have a small bit of stockinette stitch. This would be the top of your toe. The toe would expand all the way around as you continue to increase. And that's how you do Judy's Magic Cast On.